Track 10. The Downfall of Us All. Jet's morning shift ended with the stables cooling and the house buzzing. He cut through inner corridors and stepped into the center courtyard. He always stopped at least for a minute to listen to the sound of its waterfall. Something about the way it kept moving without being asked to. No cadence, no metric, no light beneath it, made the rest of the world feel temporarily optional. The sun streamed through the house and highlighted its most prominent features. Rock shelves jutted like sleeping animals, moss softened their backs. Willow branches cascaded down with its leaves combing the surfaces they touched. Water from the falls hit the pond. The sound always soothed his nerves. Children crossed in every direction, pairs laughing, loners moving quickly, keepers flanking the edges, caretakers wrist deep in potted plants that surrounded the walls. The galley curved along the inner ring of the house, doors open, air cool. Inside, the line moved fast under white lights. Screens listed options. Biohost, base, biohost, red, mid-orange, elite green. A keeper stood ready. Jet tapped his orange wristband for the red base option. It didn't feel right upgrading yet. He slid forward, eyes reading the room without trying. Division colors everywhere, red and black, green and yellow, indigo and violet, white and gray, but the tables were chaotic in practice. A sign above them still glowed the old layout. Flyers, rangers, drafters, wanderers, and almost no one cared, not even the house. He scanned the tables, half looking for Bianca, half for his own crew. The crucible board climbed the far wall with names stacked, divisions tagged, first leg margins glowing. 1. Miles, Flyer, Divvy, Jet, Flyer. 3. Juliet, Flyer. 4. Luke, Drafter. And down through the rest of the Flyers, Drafters, Wanderers, and Rangers. Applause popped somewhere as Miles walked by with his drafter friends. Children slapped the table for him like he was a parade. Juliet passed a moment later with her friends who branded themselves as the tribe, all laughing loud, shoulders touching, orange and red-lit bracelets chiming. Jet grinned at Juliet as she passed. Her mouth barely found a smile, then she looked past him, her head tilted toward the glow outside, allowing the fray to fill the silence. Did I do something wrong? Jet thought to himself, watching her and her friends find a table to themselves. He spotted Joel across the room at a corner table with a newfound friend who was eating like he hadn't in a while. Joel? He finally shouted over the crowd. Heads turned. A few children pointed, whispers rolling towards Joel's table. Joel hadn't asked for this attention, but he already knew what to do with it. Joel's eyes found him at last. He gave a head nod, then turned back around to his tray with a richer color than Jet's. Jet moved towards him with the kind of urgency that didn't need a reason. Big spender, Jet said, eyeing the upgraded spread of Biohost. I can afford it now, Joel replied. Yeah, I can see that. Joel kept eating. He laid his tray next to his brother, but kept standing. A chime broke across the space. Then a junior vice president's voice filled the galley like it had been waiting in the vents. He stood on the curator's crest that laid in the middle of the room. His blue light lit up the side of his gray and white suit. His lapel bore the drafter's pin. Contributors of Eden, today's memo, he said, warm and easy. From the desk of Director Diamond Hand number 45. Welcome home contributors. Biohost portions have been increased due to the improved hustle today. Keep your rhythm. The feel-good ink sees you. Enjoy. Then he simply walked away with a keeper in tow. A wave of whoops rolled the line. Stations lit up. Portions clicked larger for the red and orange lit wristbands. All around him, wristbands vibrated once, and the sign above the biohost dispensers read the notation. Biohost comped. Director Diamond Hand number 45. I guess you spent your credits for nothing then, said Jet, chuckling. There's more important things in life than credits, Jet, replied Joel in a cool tone. Avi shook his head in agreement as his mouth was too full to speak. So, Jet said, voice light trying to change the subject. You gonna tell me what the hell that was last night? Why you felt the need to make another fullback in less than a day? Joel's expression didn't move. What? It's fine. I'm going to be the next apprentice now. The old one won't be missed. How are you so? So what, Jet? Joel turned quickly to his brother. Jet paused. That kid is gonna have to make the run now. You happy about that? Don't you listen? Yeah, I am. Like I said, I'm going to be the next apprentice now, so, replied Joel. But at what cost? Jet asked. He might make it, Joel added, with a backhand. It's not a game, dude. Jet snapped under his breath. Joel shrugged. Sure feels like one. You're just pissed. I know how to play it. Avi snorted and giggled. I've been playing this game for years, Jet defended himself. Joel ignored him. Hey, maybe he will win his run back. Stranger things have happened. Jet's jaw tightened and gazed around. He looked away, past the tables, toward the still current apprentice sitting alone with a yellow light and his untouched food. He had a stiff posture that said he was waiting on something. Or someone. So? Joel said, smirking. He'll need a long shot to win his run back. Hope he can read omens. Avi laughed. Jet looked back at his brother, disgusted at the casual hubris that latched onto him in the span of a day. Yeah, because apparently you know everything now, Jet challenged him. Joel leaned back, eyes flicking upward like he was pulling numbers out of clouds. If it were me, he mused. Let's see. Well, to win the run back, he'd need a trifecta parlay. Avi blinked. A what? Joel grinned, enjoying himself. Simple. I'd say Jet takes first, just because, well, look at you. You look both confused and mad at the same time. Maybe that'll help you. Jet didn't disagree. Only Joel could see it. He hid his real feelings well, but he knew Joel was only putting hope of winning Q2 in his head on purpose. Joel tapped Avi on the shoulder. See? Look at him. Then they both chuckled. Yeah, good one, Jet said. Then I'd go chalk. Miles takes second. He's still the fastest flyer in Eden. Joel was pushing his buttons now. Jet really struggled to hide his reaction at this point. Joel knew how to get under his brother's skin. And third, Joel peered around the galley and grabbed the first person he saw, Jet's drafter friend, Luke. Let's say Luke sneaks into third, just for fun. I'd like to see one of my own on the board. Maybe his splits will continue to improve. Jet turned and saw Luke with the rest of his crew. Long odds on the board, but Like I said, stranger things have happened. Avi stared and smiled. That's insane. Joel clicked his tongue. Exactly. That's why it had hit. Jet's pulse thudded once, hard. He swallowed it down before anyone noticed. Joel went on, casual as ever. But hey, what do I know? I'm only reading omens. One wrong step, one wrong breath, and the trifecta parley collapses. They make it impossible for a reason. Never back parleys. Everyone knows that. So you come out on top with your first crucible winning back, and you're on top of the world now, huh? Asked Jet. The odds were in my favor, Joel replied, staring at who won it for him in the first place. Avi shook his head. You talk about the odds like they're pieces on the drafter's table? Joel smiled faintly. Like I said, everything in Eden is a game. Jet didn't answer. He just stared at his brother, wondering when Joel had removed fear from the equation and started actually enjoying the gamble. Before Jet could say another word, a voice cut through the room. Next apprentice. Then another and another, spreading across the galley. Good shit. Unit 13. I hit because of you. They weren't chanting luck. They knew they'd witnessed something they may never see again. A few didn't cheer, though. They just looked at Joel like they couldn't decide whether to follow him or stay out of his way. The words chased one another until the noise turned rhythmic. Jet rolled his eyes and sat at the table nearby. His longtime friend Luke, number 18, lifted his chin in greeting as he sat down, an easy grin in place. The best smile in their route. Best hair, too. Barely a drafter whose unit was born for the fray. They earned their color long ago. After generations, his parents clawed from red to green through faith. They never forgot their roughy roots. He'd tell the story if anyone wanted to know, but no one asked. The other member of their crew was Daly, number 12, indigo and purple kit, dusk and tide. Like most wanderers, he didn't care what people said about the way he presented himself, even though his shoulders were tense like he wanted to belong in 3 places at once. It was his father who caused their unit's red light, a story no one pressed him on, and one he never offered. Second place, Luke said, tapping the board with the green of his wrist. Hate it for me. Love it for you, though, B. And fourth suits you, B, Jet shot back. You'll be asking how I do it soon enough. Luke laughed. Not a chance. BG arrived like noise wearing a body, dropping his weight on the table, clapping Jet on the back hard enough to slosh the paste. Look at this table. Talent and tragedy. And which one am I? Daly asked. BG pointed at his red light. Yes. Nice shoes, Jet. I see you did have some credits left over from your big race after all. BG added. Jet grinned. And if my dad found out I was backing the credits he gave me? Daly leaned back. BG didn't say a word. For once. Okay then, Jet said, smartly. The laughter from Luke and Daly came easy. BG shook his head. They ate. Jet, the fastest of them all, almost animalistic. Spoons clicked. The paste gave off a faint tin-sweet smell as it slid down. Jet lifted his head between shovels to gaze about the galley. Across the room, he saw wanderers braiding through chairs in slow currents, The one Jet saw coming out of the whale last night drifted with them, laughing at something small like it mattered. With them was a girl with a prosthetic who swung her foot under the bench in time to hear her friend's story, the metal shining when the sun hit. Jet clocked them both and looked away. Hey! A red-lit drafter shouted from another table, cupping his hands. The next apprentice. It was meant for Joel, and more voices followed it. Jet dropped his utensil. Joel lowered his expression unreadable. He didn't wave. He didn't need to. The attention kept finding him anyway. It's deserving, Avi said to Joel, giving him the sign of the drafters. Then a low voice cut through the crowd. Now, what is all this commotion? Asked a soft voice. A recruiter with a violet light arrived like a quiet wisp of air, suit clashing amongst the athletic wear surrounding them. They once wore in the galley not long ago. They stepped close enough to Joel that the space had to notice. Her keeper standing ready, not too far away. Now, you must be the light of Unit 13, she said, eyes moving once over the table, appraising without rush. Jet's head turned quickly. Congratulations on your run, she said, taking off her glasses. Oh, thank you, Jet said, closing his eyes and smiling. But the recruiter's attention was on a different table. Joel's table. You, you will be our next golden boy. Hello, Joel. I'm a recruiter here. She stood across the table from where Joel was sitting, letting her words breathe. Jet caved in at his table. The rest of his table was too distracted to notice. I'm, Joel, he responded hesitantly. Yes, you are? Uh, Joel? Number 13. She giggled, then continued. Those were some backs you placed yesterday. A double back win in less than a day. And a Rangers victory as well? Very impressive, she said. Joel's mouth almost curved. I just got lucky, said Joel quietly. Hmm. The sound was gentle disagreement. Her gaze sharpened slightly. What makes you so sure of yourself to place backs like those? She placed a hand on the table near Joel. Jet and the rest of the table's jaws dropped. Let's just call it instincts, he said, trying to act cool now. Okay then. Well, keep me posted if your instincts offer anything else, she said, tucking her hair back behind her ear as a smile tugged at her mouth. Am I gonna get your name and number? He asked easily with a spark in his eye. Jet's eyes darted to Joel and noticed his veil cracking. It was like he'd never seen real flirting before. His glare then turned back to the recruiter, wondering how and why his brother was getting this type of attention. She let him hang on his own words, then leaned her head toward the group. Enjoy the director's generosity. When she turned, her glance cut back once to Joel, like a pin set exactly where she wanted it. BG waited 2 beats, then leaned into his table. Okay, where'd she come from? Stop. Joel almost cracked a smile from a distance. No, seriously, who was that? Daily colluding with BG. Luke winced for him. Leave him alone, guys. I'm just saying if he needs a ranger to revive him to let me know, BG said, grinning. Joel didn't rise. He didn't have to. The little ripple in his eyes said enough. Jet studied his brother and suddenly wondered if he was proud of Joel, or if he just didn't want to fall behind him. Then a group of girls came across the table. 5 roughies from various divisions moved like a team that knew where it was going. Juliet in the middle, the quiet magnet. Next to her was Tilly, her sister who was cut from the same wild edge. She grinned like she was born mid-laugh, not common for a drafter. Ryan followed, smaller frame but all nerve, the kind that could drag a fellow ranger twice her size back from a fall. Blake, a shorter girl but with a wanderer's voice made for songs no one had the courage to finish. And Lina, Jet's old neighbor, taller with a quick wit, a wanderer as well, eyes still carrying the ache of schoolyard days. Together they were a kind of orbit, gravity with attitude. Their bracelets caught the galley light as they reached the boys' table, all color, noise, and teasing smiles. They slowed as they drew near. All except Juliet, who looked pissed as she passed. And something in Jet's stomach tightened, the thought that maybe Juliet was avoiding him on purpose. He stood before he could think. "Dude, where are you?" BG said, but Jet was already moving toward Juliet. He stopped near the apprentice on his way to give him some words that might cheer him up. He didn't seem to care. After Jet left, the other girls lingered, claiming the empty space like a right. Tilly slid into Jet's seat without asking, legs hooking around the bench. She glanced once at Joel, then away, like she was bored already. "So," she said, lightly, eyes flicking to rest of them, "who was that?" BG leaned back, grin ready. "Who? Oh, you mean the girl? Why, you jealous?" Ryan didn't even look at him. "Good one, dickhead." "No," Lina added, twisting around to wave at a girl across the hall. "We just want to know who she is." The other girl laughed and waved back. Tilly waited until she was gone before continuing. "I'm just saying," Tilly said, tapping her orange wristband against the table. "She walks in here like she owns the place, and suddenly everyone's quiet." Luke shrugged and combed his fingers through his hair. "Violet lights tend to do that." Blake shot him a look. "Don't flatter yourself." She then turned onto the bench sideways, humming under her breath. "She wasn't even talking to any of you." That got their attention. BG blinked. "We know that." Lina nodded toward Joel with her chin. "She went straight to him." There was a half-second pause. BG looked at Joel, then back at the girls. "Yeah, I guess being the apprentice has its perks." Ryan cringed. "You're a pig." Tilly rolled her eyes. "A single violet light? Talking to you guys? Come on." Joel shifted, uncomfortable. "It wasn't—" "Don't," Ryan cut in. "You don't have to explain. It was just unexpected." Luke frowned. "So what are you saying?" Lena shrugged. "Maybe since a roughie won the apprenticeship, it seems a little weird the very next day a green light happens to show him some serious attention." That almost landed. Luke's grin faded just enough. "Oh, so this is about Jet?" Tilly leaned back, crossing her arms. "Obviously it is." "BG, I don't get it." Daily. I'll explain it to you later. Blake tilted her head toward Joel, who was still sitting with Avi at a separate table. You really stood in the garden with him. Joel nodded once. Yeah? And one, Lena added, like she was testing the word out loud. Daly whistled softly. So that explains the vibe. What vibe? BG asked. The oh shit vibe, Ryan said, rolling her eyes. Tilly smirked despite herself. What the hell happened last night? Joel's jaw tightened. I won. Yeah, we know, so now what? Luke muttered. Lina grinned. We see where it goes. BG perked up again. Yeah, Jet got second in the Q1. Who knows what could happen? That got him a look. From Ryan, from Lina, even from Tilly. Yeah, Tilly admitted. And how's he handling it? BG preened. I don't know. It's just business as usual with him. He's more worried about Juliet, it seems. Well, Ryan said, she wants to win as bad as anyone. Daly nodded. Fair. Luke cleared his throat. For the record, I got fourth in Q1. Silence. Lina tilted her head. That's good? For a drafter, Luke said quickly. Tilly shrugged. Yeah. Blake hummed again. The whale was fun last night. Tilly smiled, just a little. Yeah, it was on another level last night. Blake's eyebrows shot up. Seriously? Stop it. Daly shrugged. Wouldn't know. Blake's eyes flared again. Yeah, well, BG said. I was too busy leveling up myself. He stood up and pounded his chest. His boys egged him on. Blake met Tilly's eyes for a second too long, then looked away. It was nice. It was, Ryan said quietly. Luke and Daly's eyes shot back and forth between the groups. Then they looked at each other and laughed in their shared confusion. Another pause. Different now. Joel shifted again, like he didn't know where to put his hands. Then him and Avi got up and left. Tilly waved him off. Hey, good luck. Lina smirked. How long do you think he'll last? BG looked up. What are the odds set at? They all checked the wrists. I don't know, Ryan added, eyes flicking to the yellow-lit drafter sitting alone. I just don't know who would want that job. Luke, it's an opportunity. Let's see how bad he wants it. Across the hall, another group of girls shouted Tilly's name. She turned, smiling wide, throwing a hand up like she hadn't been here the whole time. Be right back, she said, already standing. They all watched her go. BG leaned in, voice low. So? We're all just gonna pretend this is normal? Lina smiled sweetly. It's kind of our thing, but things in Eden have been safe for a long time. If everything isn't tracked, Frey will recalibrate. Daly glanced at Luke again. She looks good today, doesn't she? Luke nodded and laughed. I think so. They wondered what it last night meant for Jet and Joel, but no one said anything else either. Not yet. The rest of the girls' eyes turned to one another and giggled. The boys shook their heads. For a moment, even the lights seemed to catch the fun in the air. At the edge of the falls, Jet finally caught up to Juliet. For a moment, neither spoke. She folded her arms, expression unreadable. You really had to chase me down? Jet swallowed. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were mad at me. She blinked once. Why would I be mad at you? She asked. I don't know. The rift. Last night, you walked out. You didn't say anything. That's because, she said, voice cutting clean, I just have a lot going on. Jed opened his mouth. Shut it again. It's just you boys and your games, Juliet went on. And for what? Jet felt heat rise in his neck. So why were you there last night then? Juliet lifted a single eyebrow. Jet let it go. It wasn't worth the anguish. She huffed, annoyed, maybe at him, maybe at all of it, or maybe something entirely different. The boys back at his table were watching, not protecting him, not mocking him, just embarrassed because Jet was still chasing a girl who clearly wasn't falling at his feet. He straightened. Okay, he said, finally submitting. So, how can I fix it? She looked at him, long enough to make him uncomfortable. There's nothing to fix, she said, already stepping back toward her friends. She gave him one last glance, the way that made him want to follow her again. They looked at each other for a breath too long. When she turned to leave, their hands brushed, quick, unplanned, enough to stay with both of them as she walked back toward her table, calling the rest of her friends to follow. Jet stood there in a state of confusion for another second, to allow the running water from the falls bring him back to life. He walked back to his friend's table where he also found Bianca sitting with Joel alone. Bianca sat straight up, tray clutched like a trophy. Hi, guys, she said, light bouncing in her voice. I found you. Hey, little one, Jet said, half surprised, half relieved he hadn't missed her. How's day one? She beamed. I'm an intern now. She's going to be a flyer like me, Jet said with pride, as if anyone at the table had forgotten who she was. Bianca grinned. Luke offered a solemn handshake across the paste. Welcome, future drafter. Daly added, Nah, future wanderer, with a wave. Bianca acknowledged them, but then saw her Uncle Joel at the table next to where she sat and leaned over to speak to him. BG leaned back. Future dog. Everyone started slapping BG, but Bianca didn't notice. Uncle Joel, did you win the double back? Joel blinked. So they tell me, he said, from the neighboring table. That's really cool, she said, completely sincere. Eat, Jet said gently, checking how the talk shifted now that a kid sat among them. The group smoothed its edges like they'd done it 100 times before. They let it all pass. Talk shifted to the race. Luke reenacted the last turn with 2 spoons in a roll. Juliet knifing the draft, Miles a straight line, Jet surge like a rumor that suddenly existed. You guys really did make the house blink, Daly said, more wonder than joke. Joel nodded. Luke shrugged, but it landed inside him anyway. Next leg's different, he said. Can't be an accident twice. Something was different this time, Jet said. BG did say something's off. I believe it, Daly replied honestly. The table went quiet again. Missed you guys at the whale last night, Avi said. Quick pivot, saving him. I had a good time last night anyway, Joel replied. Oh, yeah, thanks for that, by the way. Jet glared at him. Joel smirked. Always have a backup plan. Jet nodded. Always. Especially on mischief night. Frey knows our intentions. So I stayed in and trained, Luke said. Of course you did. Jet shot back at him. Better than my parents knowing I snuck out, Luke replied. Jet nodded in agreement. I'll see you all there eventually. All currents lead to dusk and tide, Daly said, trying the line on for size. It didn't land. When they broke, it was like the courtyard exhaled them in 4 directions. Luke clapped Jet once more. Daly pretended not to watch the flyers as he left with the Wanderers. Bianca waved, already halfway toward her next instruction before she remembered to look back. Avi jokingly swore he'd bring the goods next whale. Jet stayed seated a moment longer, gazed at nothing, then stood up the same time as Joel and followed him out. Jet dumped his tray and caught up to him near a familiar sound and stopped him. They lingered at the edge of the courtyard for a second and listened to the waterfall. Sun caught the spray and made a brief, crooked rainbow in the mist. The brothers watched the water stutter against the rock, listening as it crashed into the pond below. Jet sighed, then finally spoke. Listen, it just seems like you're being reckless lately, he said. That could easily be you making the run at the end of Q1. Is that why you felt the need to talk to me before the Ranger's Rift? Joel asked. Look how far your words of wisdom got the other guy. Jet stood there for a moment, thinking about his fate as well. I was just worried about you, Huss, Jet said. Joel's expression didn't change. Well, I don't need you worrying about me anymore. Jet swallowed. The words landed heavier than they should have. You act like it's such a bad thing, having someone worry about you. Joel's gaze drifted past him, like he was already bored. Well, worry about yourself from now on, because it won't be you who fixes everything after all. It'll gonna be me. Jet's throat tightened as his chest fluttered. Who knows how long it could take for our parents to finally get preserved, if it takes waiting for you to maybe become the next director. I can get us all preserved by the end of this light cycle. Who said anything about our parents being preserved? Joel asked with a whisper. Jet froze. What's that supposed to mean? Joel let the silence stretch just long enough for it to sting. Then, seeing Jet's face tighten, he smirked, almost amused by how easily it landed. Relax, I'm messing with you, he said at last, rolling his eyes, the smile not reaching his own. Joel continued. Listen, I can't control what it'll take for me to get where I need to go, but we've been told since draft day that this is the route drafters have to take. If Mom and Dad are still around by the time Bianca reaches her binding, they'll get what they've been dreaming about their entire lives. Just like their parents before them. I'm just giving us all a chance, because it's not a guarantee you win the Crucible. Jet stared ahead. Yeah, well, sometimes I don't like to be messed with. You don't get it, Joel said as he shook his head, his grin flickering, now full challenged. I'll be looking forward to your toast. If you win. He started to turn, then leaned close enough for only Jet to hear. Cheers, golden boy. A strong slap on the back, and he was gone. The willow leaves shivered through the air. Jet couldn't help but feel a weight in his chest he wasn't able to move, like something had slid in under the sound of the falls and took a seat where it couldn't be reached.